Leo Valdez is one of the main characters of the Heroes of Olympus series by Rick Riordan. He's also one of the most popular and loved characters in the fandom, and in this video, I thought of heading back to his character and sharing 10 little-known facts about Leo Valdez. I've made similar videos for Jason and Annabeth, and you guys seem to like them, so I'm continuing the series with Leo through sharing some small details that many people tend to overlook, and to get a better understanding of Leo himself. Before getting into it though, there will be spoilers after this, and with that, let's get started. Number 10. Leo's name. Leo's name is pretty interesting, because there's a lot of meaning to the name Leo. For a long time, a lot of fans wondered if Leo was actually short for Leonidas, especially since Calypso once called Leo Leonidas in the Dark Prophecy, or the second book of the Trials of Apollo series. When asked about Leo's full name once during an interview, Rick Riordan, or the author of the series, joked about it, saying, "Leo is short for Leo, derived from Leo, related to the root word Leo." Rick joked about it because apparently a lot of fans were asking him for full names of Percy and Annabeth and were expecting second or middle names when Rick just gave them one name to stick with. He even mentioned how it came to the point that he made Reyna Ramirez-Arellano have so many names in response to people asking for a proper full name for a character, which is honestly hilarious because Reyna has the longest name in the series right now. Her full name is Reyna Avila Ramirez-Arellano, so I guess Rick really wanted to make a point. But going back to Leo, the name Leo actually comes from Latin, and it means lion. Aside from this meaning, the name could also refer to the zodiac sign Leo, and interestingly, it's one of the 3 signs with a fire element. This is very on point with our character Leo, because Leo was known to be the first Hephaestus kid in 100 years to actually have fire powers. On the other hand, the last name Valdez is a common Spanish last name derived from Valdez, a municipality in Spain, which adds up pretty well because Leo is pretty fluent in Spanish. Number 9. Leo is kind of short in height. It's a small running joke in the series that Leo is actually short compared to a lot of characters like Percy or Jason, and it's something that I don't see people mention. In the books, a few characters point this out, like in the Dark Prophecy from the Trials of Apollo series. In that book, Leo was able to fit into the clothes of a 7-year-old girl named Georgina, and this surprised Apollo and the rest, as it implied that Leo was short enough to do this. In the Demigod Diaries, the creatures called the Maenads called Leo short, and Leo had to bite back some quote-unquote choice words because he felt offended. And yes, apparently Leo does get offended if you call him short. Number 8. Leo is the only male demigod from the 7 who hasn't been praetor. In Camp Jupiter, or the Roman camp, a praetor is essentially the leader or the president of the legion, and they pick 1 male and 1 female praetor. There are 4 male demigods among the 7. Leo, Percy Jackson, Jason Grace, and Frank Zhang. Among the 7, Jason Grace was the first to be praetor, as he was hailed praetor ever since The Last Olympian, or the last book of the Percy Jackson series. However, Jason was kidnapped by the goddess of marriage Hera, and because of this, Camp Jupiter did not have a male praetor for a while. This all changed though in the Son of Neptune when a Greek demigod son of Poseidon named Percy Jackson arrived in Camp Jupiter. After a battle that raged in the camp by the end of that book, Percy was promoted to praetor. This didn't last long though, because by the next book, or the Mark of Athena, Percy would step down from his position as praetor because Jason had returned. Jason would be praetor for a while, until midway to the next book, or the House of Hades. Around this time, Jason was having an identity crisis about whether or not he was Greek or Roman, and this made Jason realize that he couldn't be praetor anymore, because he didn't fully feel at home in Camp Jupiter. He found an identity in both Camp Jupiter and Camp Haplet, and he knew it was time to step down. Because of this, Jason gave his praetorship to Frank, and from then on, Frank led Camp Jupiter. From all of this, it's clear that Leo is the only one who hasn't been praetor among the guys in the 7. Number 7. Leo is the second child of Hephaestus to die in an explosion. We're introduced to a couple of demigod children of Hephaestus like Nyssa from The Lost Hero, Harley or the kid from the Trials of Apollo, Jake Mason or the head counselor from The Lost Hero, and of course, Charles Beckendorf. Charles was one of my most favorite characters from the original 5 books, but he tragically died in the first chapter of The Last Olympian. Charles and Percy were on the Princess Andromeda to stop Kronos, and Charles had exploded the place to defeat Kronos. He died in this explosion, and it was a noble sacrifice for the greater good. Charles' sacrifice was remembered by a lot, and coincidentally, his half-brother Leo Valdez would go on to do something similar. In The Blood of Olympus, or the last book of the Heroes of Olympus series, Leo sacrificed himself to defeat the Earth goddess Gaia, and it worked. In one big explosion, Gaia was defeated, and Leo actually died. However, as we all know, he had the miraculous physician's cure from the god of medicine Asclepius, and he came back to life by the end of the book. Number 6. Leo's family. Calling Leo's family complicated is just the tip of the iceberg, and surprisingly, not many people actually take the time to understand Leo's family, or his lack of it. But it didn't start out that way. Leo was born to the god of craftsmanship Hephaestus and the mortal woman Esperanza Valdez. When Hephaestus left them just like the average godly parent, Esperanza loved and took care of Leo, until one fateful day. On that day, Leo and his mother were closing up the repair shop they owned, when Esperanza suddenly forgot her keys inside. She went back inside to get it when Gaia burned the place down. Gaia explained that she couldn't hurt Leo now because of the Prophecy of Seven, or the prophecy Leo was a part of from the Heroes of Olympus series, but that she could hurt Esperanza now to emotionally hurt him instead. Leo witnessed his mother die in the fire, and his life turned upside down. Now an orphan, Leo needed a family to stay with, but his relatives completely turned him down. His Aunt Rosa even called him the devil and told social workers to take him away, which led to Leo living in different foster families. Unfortunately, Leo never found a true home with any of them, and he would almost always run away from their houses. And in between foster families, Leo would sleep under a bridge. The situation was so bad that by the time we met Leo in The Lost Hero, Leo had run away from a foster home for the 6th time. Overall, Leo's family situation is not really discussed in the fandom, so I thought of adding a section for it here. Number 5. Leo, Hazel, and Jason are the only demigods from the 7 to get resurrected. This happened in 3 different events, and let's start with Leo. As mentioned earlier, Leo sacrificed himself to defeat Gaia through one big explosion. Gaia was defeated, and Leo actually died here, but he came back to life thanks to the physician's cure. On Hazel Leveska's side, we had to get a bit of context on Hazel's life. So, long story short, Hazel's mother, Marie Levesque, was a fortune teller who got manipulated by Gaia. Gaia convinced Marie to help resurrect the giant Alcyones, and Hazel and Marie soon realized this. Marie was about to sacrifice herself to save Hazel from Gaia, but Hazel refused and exploded the place instead. This explosion killed both of them, and this led them to the underworld. Hazel and Marie would spend the next 70 years in the fields of Asphodel until the arrival of Hazel's brother, Nico D'Angelo. Nico had arrived in the underworld in search of his sister Bianca, but he was unsuccessful. On the way, he met Hazel, and realized that, compared to the rest of the souls in Asphodel, Hazel felt pretty much alive despite being dead, and Nico and Hazel connected with one another because they were also half-siblings. From this, Nico believed that Hazel deserved another chance at life, which is why he brought her back to the world of the living through the doors of death. This resurrected Hazel, and gave her a chance to be a demigod again in Camp Jupiter. As for Jason, readers of the Trials of Apollo know he's already dead, and although this is unfortunately true, Jason was actually resurrected during a small moment in The Lost Hero. This moment happened during the Battle of the Wolf House. Here, Jason, Piper, and Leo were fighting off monsters until Hera unleashed her godly form. And one thing to note about this is that any mortal who looks at her during this moment will instantly die. Hera did this to kill all of Gaia's forces, and it worked. However, Jason wasn't able to look away in time, and for a while, everyone thought he died. But Piper McLean, or Jason's girlfriend at the time, refused to give up. She used her charm speak powers and begged Jason back to life. And surprisingly, this actually worked. A lot of people really dislike this moment because it feels unrealistic, but it does make sense plot-wise, because around this time, the doors of death were open. These doors are supposed to remain shut to stop the souls of the dead from coming back to the world of the living, but since they're open, Jason's soul just managed to walk out of the underworld, which is why, added to the charm speak, Jason lives. Number 4. Leo did not like Nico D'Angelo. Leo and Nico first met around the latter part of the Mark of Athena, or the 3rd book of the Heroes of Olympus, and their relationship is kind of complicated. To most of the 7 during this time, Nico was an uninvited guest who kind of betrayed Percy in the past, and that's why they didn't really have an open mind about Nico. This inevitably affected Leo's perspective as well, as he questioned Nico's loyalty a lot. It came to a point that Leo even made jokes at Nico's expense, and he only stopped because Hazel got mad at him for it and defended Nico. Although Nico and Leo did end up on better terms, as they did fight together against Gaia, and Nico did mourn Leo's so-called death, it definitely didn't start out that way. They had a pretty rocky relationship beforehand. Number 3. Leo wasn't able to meet Jason one last time before Jason's death. One of the most heartbreaking scenes in the Riordanverse is Jason's death in the Burning Maze. Jason died after an intense fight against the God Emperor Caligula, and he died with the knowledge that his best friend had just came back from the dead, but he was not able to meet Leo one last time. And let me explain. After Leo resurrected himself with the physician's cure, he flew back to Ogygia, picked up Calypso, and sailed into the unknown. That's exactly how the Blood of Olympus ended. And in between this book and the first Trials of Apollo book or the Hidden Oracle, Leo managed to send a holographic scroll to Camp Haplet and Camp Jupiter to send the message that he was alive. Learning about this, Jason and Piper tried looking for Leo for months, but it was no use. Leo was nowhere to be seen, and following Jason and Piper's breakup, Leo wasn't able to formally meet them for a long time. It was only until the end of the Burning Maze when Piper finally managed to meet Leo face to face, but this was a devastating moment as Leo looked around the room and asked, "Where's Jason?" Piper broke down crying and explained Jason's death, and they hugged each other while trying to stay strong. Leo even says this heartbreaking line in this part of the book: I couldn't even say goodbye. And that's very much true. Jason and Leo had not met ever since Leo sacrificed himself, and around the Burning Maze, that was already so many months ago. Number 2. Leo starts and ends the Heroes of Olympus. The first chapter of The Lost Hero may have been told in Jason's perspective, but Leo was already a part of the story since the first day. And interestingly, he also appears in the last scene we ever get of the Heroes of Olympus, through the epilogue of The Blood of Olympus. The Blood of Olympus ends with Leo waking up from the dead as he jumps on Festus and flies to Ogygia. Leo picks Calypso up from her island, and they fly away together to the unknown. So from this, it seems like Leo was part of the start of the story and the end of the story. And last but not the least, number 1. Leo could have stayed dead in the Blood of Olympus. A lot of fans were surprised when Leo got resurrected back to life at the end of the Blood of Olympus, but what's even more surprising is that Rick actually considered making Leo permanently dead. This was to add more of an emotional ending to the series, but at the same time, he decided against it because fans had grown too attached to Leo, and that's very much true. Leo is one of the most loved characters in the Riordanverse, which is why Rick decided to listen to the fans and keep him alive. And those are all the facts I have for you guys today. So how about you? Do you have any more facts on Leo? Let me know in the comments down below.